Okay, guys, we got a test later this week. It's only 5 problems, and I'm about to go over the 5 right now. So we have to solve these equations, and we have x to the second power, negative 7x to the second power plus 42x equals 0. So did I say x to the second power? Yep, so x has 2 solutions or answers. So we have x to the second. We've also got x to the first. And then I see Mr. Zero right there, so that's good. Now underline your terms. You have 1, 2. So it's 2 terms. So with 2 terms, all we need to do is come up with a GCF. Make the box. GCF. So do you have a negative in front of the very first number? You do. So you got to do a negative. Do you have x on each line? X second, x first. Yep. So I take x to the first. Then I punch in 7 and 42 into the greatest common factor calculator. And I got 7. Okay. So negative 7x to the first power. I put a parentheses around that. Then I go up and divide by what I just put in that parentheses outside. It's like the opposite of the rainbows. When rainbows is multiply, the opposite would be to divide. So negative 7 divided by negative 7 is 1. And then x, 2 minus 1 is 1. Take 42 divided by negative 7. I got negative 6. So it's 6 with a minus. Okay, let's get the 1's out of there. Okay. And now this times this could equal 0. So this is F1. This is F2. Okay, so either negative 7x could equal 0 or 1x minus 6 could equal 0. So I dot my variables, the multiplier on the variable, and circle it. So the opposite, I don't have to add or subtract here. I just do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by negative 7. Those can cancel. 0 divided by negative 7 is 0. And the opposite of minus 6 is plus 6. Plus 6. 0 plus 6 is 6. So 1 times x equals 6. Now I divide by 1. Divide by 1, and 6 divided by 1 stays at 6. So those are my 2 solutions. Okay, the next problem, we have x to the second power, 1x, second power, minus 7x plus 10 equals 0. And again, we have x to the second, so that's 2 solutions. So I have x to the second. I've also got x to the first, so we need to make sure the equation's equal to 0 so that we can factor the expression into 2 parts. So I underline how many terms. Now, this one up here had 2 terms. This one's got 3. Okay, so with 3 terms, we start it the same way as if we had 2 terms with the GCF. And then we have to make a second box, a pretty big box, so I can do my t-test. So here's the t-chart, and right there. So the GCF, do I have a negative in front of the 1? No, I don't. Do I have, look at all your lines, all 3 of them. You have x second, x first, and then you don't have x here, so we're not going to put x. That's why we can't put an x, because the 10 doesn't have one. And then I go 1, 7, and 10. I just got 1. Okay, so if I just have a 1 without a negative, without an x, that's out. Okay, then I go A, B, and C, so I can know what number to put here, and I multiply the A times the C. So I take positive 1 times positive 10. I got 10. And 10 is a positive that I just got, because when I multiply it, I got positive 10, so it's positive. So when we get a positive, we add. And we're trying to add the factors to come up with the number 7, and 7's negative, and that's important. So dividing time, 1. 10 divided by 1 is 10, but 10 plus 1 is not 7. Okay, now think of putting a 2. 10 divided by 2. 2 and 5. And 5 plus 2 is 7, so I have that. And 7 being the negative that it is, that means 5's negative for sure. And since that 10 up there is positive, the sign, that doesn't mean that this is positive, okay? That being a positive just means the signs were the same. I would circle the two numbers and write same. So the same as a negative would be another negative. Okay, I have 1x to the second, so I can just go ahead and make my two factors. 1x, 1x, 2, and 5. They would both be minuses. 0. Because if this equals 0, if the three terms equal 0, then when I factor it, it's 0. So F1, F2. So 1x minus 2 could equal 0, or 1x minus 5 could equal 0. So I dot my x's, both of them. So I do the opposite of minus 2, which is plus 2. 0 plus 2 is 2, divide by 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And the opposite of minus 5 is plus 5. Plus 5. 1 times x equals 5. Divide by 1. Divide by 1. And 5 divided by 1 is 5. 2 and 5 are the two solutions. Now, next problem. 7x plus 14 equals 9x plus 24. I do not have a second power. I don't have any powers at all. I mean, they're first power. These x's are to the first power. But if there's no second power, why would I put a 1? Okay, I don't need to. So there's only one answer. So I don't need all this box silliness. I want to just box my x's and get them on the same side together. Right now they're on opposite sides of the equation. Now the 9's positive. It's like a plus 9x, so the opposite of plus 9x is minus 9x. And then I minus 9x from 7x. So 7 minus 9 is negative 2x. Plus the 14 equals 24. 24 is positive. Then I just dot my x and circle it. I do the opposite of plus 14, which is minus 14. 24 minus 14 is 10, so negative 2 dot x equals 10. And divide both sides by the negative 2 factor. Okay, 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. Okay, next problem. X to the second power minus 16x minus 36 equals 0. So I have two answers because I do have x to the second. So I have x to the second and I have x to the first. That'd be a 1. So with these two different powers, we need to make sure we have 0, which we do. Now we underline the terms. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 terms again. So with 3 terms, I make my GCF box. And then I got to make another box for my T. Again, if I just make 2 lines, it's just a GCF. But with 3, I got to make my table. Okay, so do I have a negative in front of the 1? Nope. Look at all 3 of your lines. You have X on all of them. No, not there. Okay, then 1, 6, and 36. I calculate and I get 1. So it's just 1. So I don't have to do it. So A, B, and C. Okay, so what are my times? I'm timesing positive 1 by negative 36. Positive 1 times negative 36. I got negative 36. So 36 being a negative. Now I'm not going to add, I'm going to minus. And the minus needs to equal 16. And 16 is a negative, so I put negative. Okay, 1 and 36. 36 minus 1 is 35, so that will not work. It'd work if I had 35, but I didn't. Now imagine me putting a 2. 36 divided by 2, 18. So I write 2 down, and then the answer, 18. Now 18 minus 2 is 16. So I have it. Okay, so 18. So 16 is negative, so 18 would be negative. Cross it out. And we have a negative up there. So when that's a negative, the signs of the factors have to be the opposite. So if that's negative 18, this can be plus 2. Okay, and a is 1x squared, so I just make 2 parentheses. I put 1 and 1, then the x to the second is x and x. Then plus 2 minus 18 equals 0. That's F1, that's F2. So 1x plus 2 could equal 0, or in the second factor, F1, 1x minus 18 is 0. So I dot my x's and circle them. So I do the opposite of plus 2, which is minus 2. If you have 0 and you take away the 2, that's going to be negative 2. Then divide by 1, divide by 1, then you're at negative 2. Minus 18, so it's plus 18. Plus 18, that's 18. So 1 times x equals 18. Divide by 1, divide by 1, 18 divided by 1 is 18. So those are your two solutions. Okay, story problem time. A missile is launched from the ground with a velocity of 264 feet per second. How many seconds does a missile land on the ground? This is a motion problem, okay, because it goes up, comes down. It's a motion problem. So motion means you're going to have negative 16x to the second in the equation you write, okay, just because that's gravity. Gravity is the same on Earth no matter what the story problem says, no matter what it is. And there's 2 units of measurement here, so I make my boxes. Now, on a motion problem, we need a lot of room for the third box. Okay, so I have feet and I have seconds. Now, the x variable is seconds, the y variable is feet. So per feet per second. And the feet per second I see is 264. Okay. Now, a missile is going to come up, but then it's going to come back down, and that means that forms a parabola. So the parabola is going to end at 0 feet. That's why that 0 is there. So 0 feet. Okay, that's all I need to do on the parabola. Now it's time to write the equation. Now, a parabola has, when I see a parabola, I go blank x to the second power plus blank x plus blank equals y. Now, x to the second, we already know we have negative 16. Okay, now in x, we look up here at the feet per second, 264. Then I really see no other number, okay, that I can add in there, that I have to add, because the missile started from here, so I can just eliminate that term. Okay, and that's my equation. Now I need to solve the equation. Now I need to put the 0 feet in for the variable it goes. That's feet. Feet would be y. Okay, so we need to get rid of this y and put 0. Now I forget it's a story problem. It's like these problems I'm doing here. Since we have x to the second power, there's 2 answers. So up here, we know we have x to the second. We also have x to the first. So I need to see my 0 so I can factor. Now, the lines are already there. How many of them are there? There's 2. So 2 terms. With two terms, I just need the GCF at this point in our class, in our little journey. Okay, GCF. Now 16 is a negative, so I need negative. X second, x1, so I'd put x to the 1. And then I definitely need the computer for this, 16 and 264. Okay, I hit calculate, and I got 8. So negative 8x to the first power. That comes out here. Parenthesize it. I divide by negative x to 8x to the first power. Okay, now a negative divided by negative is a positive. So positive 2. And then 2 minus, by the way, you can cross these out, okay, because they're both the same power. And then 2 minus 1 is 1, 2x to the 1. Then I take positive 264 divided by negative 8. Now I got negative 33, so I put 33 with a minus. Okay, we don't need these first powers here anymore because I have my first factor and my second factor. So negative 8x could equal 0, or 2x minus 33 could equal 0. So I dot my x terms and go from there. The opposite of times is to divide by negative 8. 0 divided by negative 8 is 0. Then I add 33 to both sides. So 2 times x equals 33. Then I divide by 2. Divide by 2. So 33 divided by 2 is 16.5. Okay, now the answer I write over here is my larger answer, 16.5. The reason there's two answers is because the missile's on the ground here, but no seconds have passed because that's the starting point. Then you start a watch, it goes up, comes back down again here to 0 feet, and by that point, 16.5 seconds have passed. Okay, now I do want to look at this. This will not be on your test. This is just something I want to look at. Now, I'm not solving the equation. So we have two answers. We're not going to find them on this. That's fine. Because we have x to the second, we have x second, and we have x to the first. But the problem is we don't see our 0. I want the 0 over here, but there's two things I need to undo by adding or subtracting. I have 8x to the 1. By the way, if you don't have your 0, you go blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So negative 8. So I add 8 with its x to the first, and negative 8 plus 8 is 0. But then I need to add 8x to first to something over here, okay? Well, the 15 is what has the x to the first, so I add it to the negative 15, okay? Those cross out now. Don't cross it out until you find what you can add it to, if you can add it to anything. Then I see minus 10, so plus 10. Oh, shouldn't have crossed it out. That's good. I guess you can cross it out. Now, 10 didn't have an x, so where could I put that? Well, that has x to the second. Can't put it there. To put it under something, it can't have an x. These had x to the first, so I have nowhere to put it, so I put it up above the equals sign. Okay, plus 10. What I do to this side, I have to do somewhere on this side. So now I'm ready to go. So x to the second, I have a 1. X, I'm looking for x to the first, and I have 2 of them. I just do the math. I take negative 15, I just do the operation, plus 8. And I get negative 7. And then we have, for constants, numbers without x's, we have our 10. Okay. And then I would do my GCF and T-chart. I'm not going to do that here, though. Okay, next one. I would have two answers because I have x to the second here with 1, and I have x to the first. Okay, so I need to get my 0, so if I had to solve this equation at gunpoint, I could. Okay, so here's my equals, and over here, that's like a minus 13, x to the first, so plus 13, x to the first Now, do you see x to the first over there? You don't, so you put it above the equal sign. Plus 13x to the first. And plus 6, I'm minus 6. Now, find a number over there that does not have an x connected to it. Well, that one doesn't. That one does. That doesn't, so that's where I can minus 6. So I go blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. X to the second, I got 1. For x, I just have the 13, because that's x to the first, same thing. And then numbers without x, I got these two. I got to do the operation. Negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14. Okay, now for my next one. 1x to the second plus 13x plus 24 equals negative 12. So, x to the first. There's two answers to this equation. We have x to the second and we have x to the first. So, problem is, I should have a 0 right after the equals and I don't. So a negative 12 is like a minus 12. What would the opposite of minus be? Plus. Now 12 didn't have an x. Find a number over here without an x. That has an x. That has an x. That does not. So that's where I can do the other plus 12. So I got blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So I got 1. X the first, I've got 13. Then I take positive 24 plus 12. It's just 24 plus 12 because the 24 is not negative because it has a plus in front of it. 36. Okay, this one right here. We have 1x to the second minus 7x to the first equals 18. So there's two answers. X to the second, x to the first, both in this equation. So I don't have my 0. Okay. I have an 18. Now 18 is like a plus 18 because you don't have a sign, it's a plus. So the opposite of plus is minus 18. Now, 18 did not have any kind of x behind it. I got to find something else over here without any kind of x behind it. Well, I got 1, but that has x. I got 7, that has x. So I'm going to have to put minus 18 above my equals. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So for x to the second, I have 1. For x to the first, I've got the negative 7. Then for the numbers without x, I just have that negative 18. So negative 18. Okay, next problem. I have, if I had to solve it, there'd be two answers because we have x second equals 24x to the 1. So I have x second and x to the 1 both in here. So I would need my 0. I need a 0 after this. So 28 is positive, so I minus 28 with its x to the 1. Now I got to find x to the 1 over there. You don't see it, do you? So you put it above your equals because it does not go with anything. There's no like term with it. So I go blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals blank. For x second, I got 14. For x, I have x the first, that'd be negative 28. Minus means it's a negative. And then I don't have any numbers without x's, so this term here just gets taken out. And then there would only be two terms. I'd just do a GCF to solve it. Okay. Negative 5x to the second power equals negative 10x to the first. So I do have x to the second and x to the first. So that means when I have two different powers of x, we need to have a 0. So that negative 10 is like a minus 10. So I would, if I wanted to undo a minus, I would do the opposite, which is plus 10 x to the 1. And that's 0 then. But then you have to do the plus 10x to 1 over here somewhere. Well, it's x to the 1, and I don't see x to the 1, so I put it up above the equal sign. Okay. So I got blank x to the second plus blank x to the 1 plus blank equals 0. X to the second, we have negative 5. X to the first, I just have the 10. Okay. Don't put the 1 down there. Then we don't have any constants again, so I would eliminate this third space. There would be no constants, meaning I could just solve it with two terms, GCF. Okay, negative 16x to the second power minus 1 equals negative 15x to the first power. So I have two solutions because we have x second and x to the first. Okay, so I need to undo the minus 15. It's negative, so I would plus 15x to the 1. Find x to the 1 over there. You don't see it, do you? So you do it above the equal sign. Then blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So x second, we have the negative 16. For x, that means I'm looking for x to the 1, just right there, the 15. Then constants, we just have the negative 1. Okay, my next one, two answers. And we don't even know how to solve this yet, okay? You don't even know because x second has something different than a 1, okay? Good thing I don't have to. So I have 8x to the second plus 6x to the first equals 9. So I have x second and x to the first. So I need to clear this side of the equation. I want a 0 to go there. So I put a plus. I do the opposite of plus 9, which is minus 9. And 9 didn't have an x. Do I have any number here without an x? No, that has one, that has one. So I put minus 9 up above the equals. So I go blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals 0. So for x second, I got 8. For x, that's x of first, I have positive 6. And then I have the negative 9. Donezo.